show you today how to paint this apple using a monochromatic color scheme and a handy dandy tool, a red film sheet. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is make a 9 value scale in monochrome. So we have to first draw out our scale. So we're going to draw out a 4.5 inch value scale. Alright, so I'm working in oil today, but this can absolutely be accomplished with acrylic paint too. But to make our monochromatic scale, all we need is cadmium red light, raw umber, and zinc white or titanium zinc white. I picked raw umber to darken the cadmium red light because it has a green hue to it, which is red's complementary color. It's opposite on the color wheel. So it will neutralize the red, but in a chromatic way. So I'm not bringing in a black, which has all different types of undertones. So I've laid those out on my palette already, and we're gonna go ahead and start mixing. I like to mix with a palette knife. Keeps the colors clean and not muddy on your brush. Also helps with cleaning. So I have to mix 8 values, from the lightest value being 1 on a 9-point value scale, and 9 being the darkest value. So this straight cadmium red light is going to be my mid-tone. So then I only have to mix 8 other colors, 8 other values. So 4 lighter and 4 darker. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and you can keep it on your palette, you know, halfway through if that helps. So first thing I want to do is make a slightly lighter version. I'm gonna add a little bit of this white. And you want that shift to be noticeable, but not so large that you can't get 3 more. Your 1 value, your lightest value, is going to be just the lightest of pinks. So it's not fully white, it's still going to have some chroma to it. Okay, so that's definitely getting noticeable, so maybe we'll hang out there for a little bit. We'll take some of that value that we've mixed, put it over here, add some more white to it, get it to lighten up again. That might be too big of a shift, but let's keep going and see if it is. Take a little bit of that value. Add some more white. That looks like a nice shift there, and even as I'm making this one now, that shift looks maybe spot on. Take some of this, maybe a little bit less, because it'll shift that white pretty fast. we go, that's pretty good. Nice shifts in place. And we can keep checking as we put it on the scale there. Okay, so now I'm going to make my 4 shades that are darker using the raw umber. First thing I'm going to do is clean off my palette knife here, so I'm not contaminating those colors and getting white in there. If you get white in your darks, you get really chalky darks, and you lose that saturation. Okay, so we're going to start with just our Cad Red Light again. On the other side here. And then we're going to come over and grab some of our raw umber. That's looking closer. Might even add some more. That raw umber really shifts it pretty quickly. Notice my paint here is getting really thick and kind of hard to mix. When you're working with oil, you're going to add a medium to help give your colors more liquidity. So that's what I'm adding here. Now I can really see that color a lot more too. You know what? I think I went too far and I need to add some more raw umber. There we go. Okay. And then like before, we're gonna pull some of this color into the next one. Add some more raw umber. Pull some of this color into the next one. Add some more raw umber. Some more medium. Oops, not too much. Put that back over here. Okay. And that looks like too big of a shift there between these two. So I'm going to add some more Cad Red Light back into it. I still need to get to one more shift. That's a better shift. Okay. Make sure it's mixed all the way. And we'll pull that color over here. Add some more raw umber. There we go. It's a nice shift. Okay, and then we'll move this onto our scale. Okay, so now we're going to transfer these values to our value scale. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now that we have our value scale, we can start to lay out what our composition is going to be of this apple. So you can take your hands, make two L's, and then when you intersect them, you can make a viewpoint that you can shift and change. So a very vertical composition might look like that, a square, a more horizontal, and you can hold it up to your apple and pick where you want that composition to be cropped, where you want to crop the image. I'm looking, I'm thinking. So I have such a long piece of canvas paper here. Let me try and do something more vertical. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do something like that. So the first thing I'm gonna do is lay out my edge of my picture plane with some clear borders. This is just a sketch today, so I'm not taping this off, but if you wanted to make this really clean, you could tape these edges. I'm just kind of sketching in where I want that composition. I'm gonna actually draw in some of my measured points here of my apple and where the bench, the back of the bench is. So my composition, the back of the bench kind of ends up here. You know, I'm doing this mostly by eye right now, but the way you build up to getting that measuring in your eye is by actually measuring, so actually holding your arm out, locking that elbow so it doesn't change, holding your arm out and holding that end of your paintbrush up into some of the lines. So like the line on this pattern, I'll hold in the plane of space, or if I want to measure something, I can use the bottom of my finger and make the end of the paintbrush a ruler and measure everything against itself. And maybe we can go into that some more in another video. But for this video, I'm just gonna do it kind of by eye. But know that we go over that in more detail in a class. Okay, I'm getting pretty detailed with the pattern, so I'm actually gonna pull back out from this so I don't get too caught up in it. Because you'll see I'm gonna lose a bunch of it as I clarify general to specific here. Okay. So I've got a general sketch there of my apple and the pattern of the fabric, where the edge of the stool ends, where the wall begins. So when I'm going to whip out my red film. The film I showed you earlier in the video is a brand new film. This one that I'm using is my personal favorite, but it's definitely had years and years of use, so it's quite coated in paint. That's kind of fun too. So now I'm just going to start looking at the apple through this red film, and what it does is it turns everything into a value instead of a color. So what you are seeing first is the value and not the color. So it's always easier, I think, for you all to see this with the clean one. Value first. This one's a little thicker, that's why I like it. It's a darker red, so it turns it even more into a value. Okay, but like on that pattern there, you can see the dark blue turns into like the darkest 9 value, right? So now I'm going to, looking through this, paint the apple using just value. And you can hold it up to your palette too, so I can hold it up to my palette and see just the values as well. I'm gonna work with the midtones first. A little darker midtone. I'm sort of following values up along the composition. So I put in this 8 value color. So I'm gonna look for it in other spots now. This is where I might have to lose some information that I had recorded before to really make some declarative statements. Actually, and go back in and work some of these brush strokes in the plane of the fabric, which is on the diagonal. Keep that consistent. Especially since we're working monochromatic, these textures become so important. here is my still life viewpoint, and here is the final piece. Until next time, bye.